Yo, what's up everyone? It's Bill here for Classic Rock and Metal Review. Time for another all Black Sabbath update. Got some news items we can talk about quickly. Going to do a full review of the recently back in print Deluxe edition for the Eternal Idol. Cool one coming up. Better pack a drink for that. Listen. Also, a DVD review for a bootleg DVD I got a while back. Been sitting in the drawer for a long time. Finally was in the mood for this one. And a good one it is. King of Terror, it's called. Black Sabbath and Pittsburgh, 1999. It's the in-house feed. Nice pro shot, obviously. Pro sound and show from the reunion tour. And we'll do a quick recap. Already did a full review for this one. Definitive Paris 1983. We'll just do a quick summary version. In case you missed it, it was on our last bootleg episode. Did a full review. So quickly, Definitive Paris 1983 soundboard. Little recap if you want to call it. Also, I know I probably confused shit out of a lot of people. Sorry about that. Basically posted a playlist of my version of Born Again. The version I've been listening to for 3 or 4 years. Somewhere thereabouts. And it's the only version I've listened to since then. You know, I'm not opposed to listening to the regular album once in a while. I just think this is so much better. Why bother? And we'll get into that. So I'm going to go down that whole shebang for you. Reborn Again is what I call it. You can go back on the last post and check it out there. I'll drop another link right here. Didn't mean to confuse anyone. That was a playlist in the description. You just click on the link. It's pretty cool. So, all that coming right now. Like I said, Sabbath update, September of 2023. Now, a couple months ago, we tried this Black Sabbath drink out just to try it out. It's damn good, man. I'm actually drinking it today because I want to. All right? Nothing to do with promoting the band or that drink. All right. Needs a little more passion fruit syrup. That's strong. Damn. I'm also chewing on some of those blackberries. I'm not even going to go over that all the way, except to say I'm using basically the quad de stereo version of that. So I got some Chivas Regal Scotch, blackberries crushed up, crushed ice, and a little generic simple syrup. You're supposed to use passion fruit syrup. I didn't even bother getting that. It's good. Really refreshing. You'd be surprised how well fruit can work with scotch, which I didn't think they went together at all. I was wrong. There is deluxe edition of that. Let's call it that. It uses an Italian liqueur called Averno Amaro, which is a complex fusion, all different ingredients, complex tasting thing. You're also supposed to use absinthe along with scotch, I believe. Not even sure. You know, someday I'll go for that quad mix, all right? That's about it. All right, let's hit some news items. Obviously, Geezer's book still causing some quotes in the, on the interweb. And I did get that sucker. And I actually started it. I think I'm in the third chapter already. Good one so far. Obviously, I mean, I can't get enough of this kind of stuff. And actually, guys, this is the first time I bought a hardback. Must have read a dozen or so rock bios over the years. I always buy paperbacks so I can sort of trash them when I'm done. I usually give them away. This one I actually got on hardback because some of those paperbacks that I've read over the years, I wouldn't mind reading them again, but they're gone. I give them away or I trash them because they're, they get dragged to the beach or wherever, they get filthy. I just toss them. But this is really good so far. And one of the things that came out of, probably from the book here, as I'm getting to this part actually, is that Geezer's had some bouts of depression going back to his teens. I think, I read online it said right around when the band was forming, but in the book it actually starts before that. Maybe not a whole lot before that, but I'm guessing roughly about a year. And it wasn't diagnosed professionally until the 90s. Kind of hard to believe, but there was that stigma about depressives and really anyone that was out of the ordinary back in the 50s and 60s. and I think into the early 70s, and then that's stuff. But you could basically just take a relative to a mental hospital and say they're crazy, and that was pretty much the diagnosis a lot of times. So you just didn't, you kept that to yourself, you know. So that was even going on, like I said, until the 90s for Geezer. It's under control now, per Geezer, and you know, it's obviously that's a great thing, and that's a long time to live, you know, that way. He lived like that for like 20 years. So I just feel a little obligated to just say that, and to say this, that there's now like this started about a year ago, a national phone number for that, 988. It's a mental health crisis or suicide crisis hotline, 988. Obviously a free call, 24 hours a day, all that stuff. Or you can even text, believe it or not, 741-741. That's your number to text any kind of mental health, suicide crisis sort of situation. So I feel obligated to say that. You know, the stigma's gone nowadays. I think a lot of us realize, you know, people used to suffer for basically needlessly, you know, in a lot of cases. So be like Geezer, get healthy, and listen to Black Sabbath. All right, and some brighter news. Geezer says he's up for a one-off reunion show, or several of them if it comes together, of Sabbath shows, obviously. He didn't really specify that it had to be with Ward, actually, too, which I thought was kind of, you know, I don't know. I guess I was expecting him to mention Ward, but he's not even there. It sounds like that's like so far-fetched at this point that he didn't even mention it. What he did mention was a Ozzy Iommi one-off performance last year. He played Paranoid. He was supposed to play that, so there would have been that little reunion at that time, and he couldn't make that show. So at least Geezer mentioning he's still up for it. Always good news. All right, we're fruiting up a little bit. A random Dio reference by Tony. This is kind of cool. He was just talking about how Dio used to relate to other people, which was much more and better than he ever did. And Ronnie basically just chose to spend his pre-show time engaging whoever was around. It could be people with backstage passes, the local stage crew, his own friends. Iommi was kind of impressed with this, you know, that Dio basically liked to pick people's brains. And, you know, that's kind of interesting in and of itself. But also what Tony mentions is that this is what he did pre-show. He didn't prep or warm his voice up. He went on stage basically, you know, without any warm-up. Just, you know, another notch in Dio's belt in my eyes, man. Guy's incredible. He'll live forever with all of us, as you know. But that's pretty cool. I don't know if I ever had heard that before. All right, and last but not least in the news sort of category, Black Sabbath, the ballet, opens in a few weeks, September 23rd in Birmingham. 8 shows there, and 4 shows in Plymouth, 6 shows in London, the final one, October 21st. Here's some actual rehearsal footage. I can't play the audio, but they're doing this to Paranoid right here. It's pretty cool, man. Guys, I looked at this. This was 4 or 5 days ago now. This thing was almost entirely sold out. And I don't even think it went on sale until a month or so ago. So really pretty cool. I really wish this was here. I mean, I wasn't at a ballet until about 10 years ago. Kind of surprised me. I've seen 3, maybe 4 or 5. A couple of them were just okay. Others really pretty impressive. I mean, you know, what these guys and gals can do is pretty physically awesome. Live full orchestra there is pretty cool. I can't just imagine how good it would be to see them performing 8 Black Sabbath songs. This is an orchestra doing this, obviously. And 2 more songs are supposed to be new compositions using either Tony's collaboration now or possibly a fusion of him tweaking old ideas that were never used with Sabbath. So at least 10 Sabbath-related songs. Some other original music also on top of those. So, man, that would just be great. You know, I would love to take my wife to this and surprise her with this ballet. I just wish, man. Anyway, I hope the band and everyone enjoys that. You know, I just really wish it was here, especially with the band not doing anything. All right, so 5 recent bootleg new releases by Sabbath. I've already covered these in the last bootleg episode, so we'll just run down them really quick. Reading Rock 83, Friday Rock Show, little subtitle for this. Silver Press on Zodiac. The August 27th of 83 Reading Festival show on it's a soundboard, obviously. Same material as what you get on the deluxe edition of Born Again. Supposedly an upgrade, I don't doubt it for a second. It's about 10, 12 years old now, right? So found, like I said, already out there, no new material. That's that. Another Reading 83 title. This one is on the Shades label. It's 2 CDRs. It's a complete show. Audience Master. Complete Audience Master is literally the name of this guy. Another Born Again show. Complete Stockholm. 2 silver CDs by Zodiac. Sweden, August 19th of 83. They are, this is another audience tape though, obviously. Hartford 1980, the legendary master. Here you go. Here's the original from, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I don't even know. Got a numbered sticker on there that's not in the 200s. Maybe this numbered sticker thing is legit. Who knows? But this is identical material on this older release. The newer one, Hartford 1980, the legendary master. 2 silver CDs on Zodiac. This one is all soundboard. Some great bonus material there, found from an unknown venue on the Heaven and Hell tour that belonged to Cozy Pal. One other bonus track. August 10th of 1980. At least some of this show was on King Biscuit Flower Hour in September of 80. The date of the recording from Connecticut, August 10th of 80. And finally, Definitive Riot Act. 2 more silver CDs on Zodiac. Let's see, Milwaukee, October 9th, 1980. 3 songs in, Riot breaks out. Audience recorder left running for another 30, 40 minutes. That's 1 CD. The other one, Rochester, New York, a week later, October 16th, 1980. And that is the latest bootlegs. Nothing new since they were all listed on the last bootleg update. All right, guys, let's get into some Sabbath reviews. This was also on the update, so I'm just going to blow down this pretty quick. Definitive Paris, in case you missed it. I mean, I know you didn't, but Definitive Paris 1983 soundboard. Originally out on no label on this one, just a non-label. Euro lines, this goes back, I don't know, 2012, something like that. So same material, which is a couple of solos and 10 songs. And Iron Man's really not even the full song. And then you get 3 bonus tracks from Germany a couple days earlier. And same exact material on our new release. As you can see, not going to repeat the full review, but you know what? I'll try to drop a link down below. In summary, really nice sound upgrade, absolutely, versus that Eurolines. Must have. It's a must have even if you already have Eurolines, for sure. 4 soundboard songs that are on here that aren't on the Reading Festival and that aren't on the Wisdom Mass show. Gillen struggling on Disturbing the Priest, but there you go, the only soundboard version of it out there, live. And the drum solo with Bev and Ian doing his conga thing is pretty cool too. Really get a chance to actually listen to Bevan play some drums, and he's pretty damn good. All right, guys, what's coming up next? How about we move on to some video action? I love concert videos. I'm going to tell you, man, I'm a little more into them right now than listening to CDs, actually. Just placed a pretty big order with my buddy overseas, who will remain nameless, all right? You can take my disc Japan, you ain't taking my bootleg habit away, all right? This one. This was actually just a throw into a larger order that I was placing on just Disc Japan, I believe. Going back, I'm guessing 6 months ago. I really don't know. It could have even been the end of last year, or maybe not even 6 months ago. Somewhere in there. It's been many months. Sitting on this thing. King of Terror, non-label on this guy. It's just a DVD-R. This was a cheap one, you know, one of these $10 jobs. Might have even been cheaper, $8 or $9. I'm pretty sure, like I said, it was Disc Japan. Just show you quickly. We'll go over the packaging at the end here. But just the you know, you get the decent label. Now, this is just something I've never owned, never watched, you know. Not even trade-in days did I come across this guy. Star Lake Amphitheater, Pittsburgh, June 12th, 1999. All right. It's Pro Shot in-house feed style, you know, multicam kind of thing. Some of them right on the stage, others right in front of the stage, a couple of wider shots, sort of from the side looking over. Soundboard sound. Steady, you know, there's some small glitches here and there, but overall the picture is, you know, Blu-ray being a 10. This is kind of in the 7 or 7.5 category. It is a little loss of clarity overall kind of thing. Very watchable. You know, 5-10 years ago, this would easily be an 8, 8.5. So Blu-ray has downgraded everything another point. Sound is very good, stereo soundboard. Again, not killer, maybe 8 out of 10. I noticed that the band, you know, themselves tuned down a note or two, but they were the whole tour. The only official release we got, of course, from the tour, The Last Supper. Here's my DVD of that. In this weirdo case that they put things in for a year or so. You actually get the sideward picture there. On the back, it's more vertical. Anyway, you know, obviously, we'll talk about that. And just really quick, just I don't know why this DVD chose to copy off of one of the versions of Never Say Die with the cover. And even the font, exactly the same. So, kind of weird, you know. This is 99, this is 78. Anyway, just a little interesting. Thought I'd point that out. The DVD of Reunion, or what's it called? Last Supper. That, of course, is infamous for the concert having interviews right over the concert footage. I mean, whose idea was that? Although, I'll tell you, I watched this whole thing the other day just because I enjoyed that Star Lake Amphitheater show so much. Checked this one out for the first time in a long time. And, you know, it's annoying a little bit, but yeah, going in, I know it's there. The interviews are cool. You know, I really kind of even a couple things in there that I obviously had seen it before, but I kind of forgot about. So, you know, if you know that going in, it's a cool, basically half concert DVD, half documentary is kind of how I look at it. Not a true concert video. So that's where something like this, you know, kind of fills a void, you know, no pun intended. And being completely untouched and completely unscrewed with, you know, like these guys just love to do, and most bands too, really. Basically your companion to Last Supper, man. A real untouched concert. Virtually the same set list. I think there's one song that's different. Like I said, under $10, you know, there's no silver press available of this that I can tell, all right? There's multiple other versions of it on the internet, but they're all DVD-Rs anyway. The high points on this one, obviously seeing the original band back together. Ozzy, top frontman form. Just the way I recall him from going to that tour. Lots of F-bombs, throwing those buckets of water on people, sometimes as a hose on stage. This is Ultimate Sabbath, man. No offense to every other lineup they've ever had, and there's been some really good ones. This is how I like to see Sabbath. My favorites from this are basically the same favorite songs I would have if these were just records too. The least played, all right? Fairies Wear Boots. Snowblind, I know that can be considered a hit, but I just love that song. Children of the Grave, pretty cool. There's extra echo on Ozzy's voice a little bit during the song Black Sabbath. It's kind of cool. I don't remember that, but, you know, it's been forever. After Forever, and Into the Void for that matter, they would have probably been, they were favorites back when I saw them in 99. However, those two songs have been in every damn set list ever since, kind of taking some of the polish off those songs. You know, they were sort of deep cuts back then. I don't consider them deep cuts anymore in concert, at least anyway. Not when you're pulling them out every single tour, you know. One of the funniest moments on here, Ozzy's introducing the band, and when he gets to Bill Ward, he introduces them, and then he introduces them again for a total of 6 times he introduces Bill Ward. It's funny, it goes on for minutes. Really good. I know it sounds stupid, but you see the video. It's pretty good hoot. Final verdict on this thing, man. Really nice, authentic, unedited version of the 1999 reunion tour. Just highly recommended, man. This is what it's all about in the bootleg world, especially when you can get it cheap. If this was silver press for $25, $30, I would buy it right away, you know. And like did I mention this? I have a big order out there, and it's a lot of videos. It's like three CDs and 8 or 9 videos. Sabbath being one of them. Future Sabbath episode, maybe we can get to some new meat. All right, guys, let's go over. I feel like this deserves to be a segment on this show. I mean, if not on the Black Sabbath update, then when, right? My own version of Born Again that I've been listening to for years. And it's made out of, it has nothing live on it. It's all studio versions. Combination of the original Vertigo CD. And I ran across this for $5 back in the 90s in a used bin, obviously. I'll take a quick peek at that bad boy. All right, so that's part of it. Using the official deluxe edition, you know, a couple of nuggets on there. Got to take a few things from that for sure. Also, we have the more recent Legendary Masters version of the Manor tape demos. So now, previously I already had a version of this. We'll talk about that in a minute. So the entire Manor tape, I think it's 8 songs, no, 9 songs because the Fallen's on there. There's one song, I think The Dark's not on there. Everything else is different mix from what ended up on the album. And my initial copy of that was actually, here, I'll show you. It was on this album. I've shown you before, but this is pretty cool. Born Again Demos vinyl. Little fake Obi on the side there. That's just right on the cover. And, you know, you get the full thing. Looks just like the Born Again album, but if you look close, the song titles are the demos. And if you look really close, you'll see stupid shit on here like Thrashed. There's another one on here that's misspelled, I think. I'm missing it, but there's a couple misspellings on here. Anyway, Way of Wizards is the name of the brand, or the label that put this bootleg out. And you got the vinyl, and the little sticker there meant that it was orange vinyl. I think they put out I don't know, there was 2 other colors. I'm forgetting it. But what's kind of cool is that I didn't really, first of all, I didn't even think I got a chance to pick the color. They sent me what they sent me. Luckily, it was the orange, but the orange is actually more like the Devil Baby Red. So it's kind of cool. Way of Wizards on there. I know, mishandling this a little bit. I don't even know if I've ever played this on vinyl. But the reason I'm showing you and bringing it up is that it came with a CD, and that is printed right on the back cover there. Somewhere. You know, I'm way more of a CD guy. A CD version of this show is enclosed in this, is enclosed. So here's that guy, which of course just came in a white paper envelope. So there's no markings on here to tell you what it is. That's the Way of Wizards, you know, Born Again Demos CD. The cover I just printed off online, you know. So that's the story. That's what we're picking my version from. And actually, I had the Way of Wizards disc burned into my iTunes. So my playlist was from that. So I guess I had never gone back, even though it's in my iTunes too, separately, Legendary Masters. These versions are a little better sounding than the Way of Wizards disc. Also a little loud, little compression action going on, but overall, I guess I give them, you know, give them the nod. So let's just get into it, guys. I left a link to this playlist the other day. Went over like a lead balloon. I'll probably just take that post down. I'll leave the link here. Born Again, guys. I had that album back in, it might have been early '84, but I started listening to it late '83. Digital Bitch was on Metal Shop for whatever reason. I just remember it being November of '83. Certain shows I would just keep. I'd tape Metal Shop and I would just keep them around for a while. That was one of them. So they were labeled, you know, with dates on them and stuff. So for whatever reason, I remember being November. But anyway, I didn't love the song. I just kind of liked hearing Iommi and Gillan together. Thought the song was okay. When I did get the album, following year, And I had it by summer, so I probably got it somewhere in spring, summer, something like that. I thought it had some weak points, but overall I really kind of liked it. And you know, it was kind of one of those like what you liked you loved, and what you didn't like you just didn't like. A few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I saw on YouTube somebody put together their own version of Sabotage, which it's okay. I get what they were going for. I didn't necessarily love their version of Sabotage. But, you know, I got to fooling around on iTunes one day. And I'm like, let me try to put myself together a better version of Born Again, see what I can come up with. Well, you know, the fact that I've only listened to it this way, and it's probably been 8 times last 4 years, and a lot recently. I don't know what's going on, man. I'm totally into this album. Last month or so, I've listened to it like 4 or 5 times. So I took the time when I did this to do side-by-sides with all the different versions, you know. So let's track by track this version, what I'm calling Reborn Again, and give you the rationale behind it. So for openers, you know, I would say I like the song Trash now more than ever, but I still don't think it's a strong opener. I never really liked it as an opener. You know, the fact that the band released it as a single, then didn't play it live, kind of tells you how much they thought about it. It's good. I really like it. Like, I kind of like almost love it at this point. But, you know, it's still, I feel like I could do better. Now, this was from someone's comments on a Sabbath Facebook post talking about Born Again. Somebody commented that they should have put Disturbing the Priest as the opener on Born Again. That would have just kicked the door down right in everyone's face. You know, so intense, so evil, just established right off the bat. The band wasn't screwing around anymore. No Dio, no Ozzy, no problem. And you know what? I really couldn't argue with the thought of that, because so heavy. I mean, just so great. That song, that's probably my favorite song on the album. What a great idea. So I really kind of loved that the sentiment there for that. However, I really couldn't, at the end of the day, separate it from Stonehenge. So, of course, on the deluxe edition, you get that long version of Stonehenge. It's like 3 times as long. It's almost 5 minutes long, which I like that song. I like the shorter one. I like the longer one. And, you know, to me, more of a good thing is why not, right? Now, maybe the door's not getting kicked down in your face, which I think was a lot of the purpose behind putting Disturbing first. However, like I said, I couldn't separate the two. So I have the 5-minute Stonehenge on there, which I think pretty much almost achieves the same effect. 5 minutes of Stonehenge kind of lulls you in this false sense of security, you know? And then you still get Disturbing the Priest kicking down the door after that sort of ethereal instrumental, you know. So that's how my version starts. The long version of Stonehenge, and then into Disturbing the Priest, which I just took the regular album version of. The version on Legendary Masters or the Manor tapes is long, and I don't think really adds much to the song. So I'm cool with the regular version, but I do have Stonehenge long version opening up the album into the standard Disturbing the Priest, all right? Vertigo 1983 version, all you need there. Instead of, you know, I feel like the original album used to sort of bob and weave, you know, Trashed into Stonehenge or The Dark or whatever it was. You'd have a small instrumental, then a song, and then a small instrumental, and then a song. This version is just relentless, all right? Because third is Hotline. This one used to take off my Way of Wizards unmixed Manor tape demos, upgraded it to the Legendary Masters version. And, you know, I originally had just the regular Vertigo version. I took another listen the other day just to make sure what was up. I didn't even realize there's extra guitar riffage going on. I think at the end of the choruses for Hotline, where there's normally just a rhythm guitar on the regular record, Tony is riffing at those multiple spots on the demo version. So the sound overall, pretty similar, but more guitar gets the nod. So Hotline from the Manor tapes, all right. deserves better than being the eighth out of ninth song in my eyes. Let's just keep things rolling. Disturbing the Priest in the Hotline, right into Digital Bitch. Another from the Manor tape mix. You know, if the keyboards are here on Digital Bitch, like they are in the album, I can't hear them on the unmixed demos, on the Manor tape demos version. It's a guitar-heavy mix. I don't think there's any keyboards even on it, which is part of what I think drags the regular record down a little bit in spots. So, the keyboards on the Reading Festival are way overdone. I don't really listen to that too often just because it's too keyboard heavy for me. So, anyway, fourth song in, Digital Bitch. Once again, from the Manor tapes, fifth song is going to be Trashed. Likewise here, it's guitar only. No keyboards. The keyboards is part of what I thought wimped it out, you know, on the regular version. On the final verse, there are no lyrics, you know, there's no singing. But I still kind of prefer this version. It's kind of cool just hearing the music for the last verse, you know. The keyboards, just like I said, they just wimped it out for me back in '84. Took it from being a metal song almost to a rock metal song. So, again, let's keep the momentum going with this awesome version of Born Again. Next up, The Dark. There's no alternate version of this anyway. So the short, 50 seconds, whatever, of The Dark. Taking us, of course, into Zero the Hero. Again, I'm going to stick to the regular Vertigo 83 version. Zero the Hero, one of my 3 favorites from Born Again. This mix is fine. Manor Tape has a cool 9-minute version of this, but and again, the last verse is omitted as far as singing goes. It's interesting listen, but for listening to a Born Again album experience sake, regular version at 7 minutes 45 seconds, plenty long enough and plenty good enough. Finally, the new track, The Fallen, Sanctuary's 2011 Deluxe Edition. I think there's another version of it out there, but that's the one I have. You know, I think it has the better sound than the demo version too, by the way. Not by much, it's pretty close actually, but I did take the time to listen to Manor Tape demo versions of The Fallen. And the Sanctuary Deluxe Edition bonus track gets the nod there. Again, we just keep things plowing ahead with all these songs. And finally, we ended up with track 9, the title track. Manor Tape mix used on this one. Just a little better, cleaner sound on this one. Tiny bit less murky. Not night and day difference, but you know, if you have headphones on, you'll notice a little difference in clarity. You just have to close Born Again out with the title track. Semi-epic sounding title track to me. A minute and a half of Iommi jamming on the way out the door. And I really like that the 2 more mellow songs here bookend the album. Long Stonehenge to lull you in. Born Again to fade it out. And almost kind of doing that, you know, cyclical thing that Floyd does, right? Where whatever ends the album, if you just keep letting it play and it repeats, kind of just starts over again. That was sort of unintentional, but I just kind of noticed that the last listen. Guys, that's it, man. That's the ultimate version of Born Again in my eyes. Listened to it at least 7 or 8 times, maybe more the last 3 or 4 years. Yes, I left Keep It Warm out of there. Just doesn't feel right in amongst all those other great heavy songs. Keep It Warm sounds really cool. Another one I like more now than ever, honestly. I didn't used to like it much at all back in the day. Liking it more than ever. Really just kind of feels like a Gillan solo song there. And as does The Fallen, but The Fallen just kind of works for me. And especially it being something that just popped up on the radar the last decade or so. You know, Keep It Warm, decent one too. Just doesn't fit in this otherwise perfect metal masterpiece that I've created. You get my drift. I'll leave a link for it again. Try it if you dare and be ready to have your version of Born Again replaced by this playlist. Final segment here. Long ass discussion about this one. Been telling you about it for a couple months. You know, not that I'm a Tony Martin era fan. Really not. I'm trying to sneak myself in there in little subtle ways, a couple bootlegs and things like that. But I did pick up the Eternal Idol about 15 years ago for $2 used in a record store that no longer exists because the mall it was in was knocked down. But anyway, I didn't like love it. I didn't even really like it a whole lot when I got it. But for $2, what the hell? Let's get into all that. But the whole point of this segment, the deluxe edition is back in print. It's been hard to find for over a decade. Back around. Let's get into all things Eternal Idol. The Eternal Idol Deluxe Edition from Sanctuary 2010. This was released, guys. 2 CDs. You get the original album remastered. You get 2 bonus tracks that were single B-sides. Also on disc 1. Disc 2, Ray Gillen's Session, they're calling it. Which, another funny thing about this right away, I'll tell you. I never noticed that this album was called The Eternal Idol. I just always called it Eternal Idol, which I think sounds better, by the way. But I've been trying to reteach myself what it's called. The Eternal Idol. Went out of print within 1 or 2 years of it first coming around, this deluxe edition, which is back in 2010. So like I said, it's been about a decade since it's been readily available at a regular price. You could still get it, but it would be at least $30-40. People asking anyway, up to $100 for it. So that bullshit's over. So let's do a little history with Sabbath. You know, I'm going to take some time with this one, all right? Not that I'm a huge Martin era guy, hardly. But just to sort it all out, because, you know, that is one of the things back in the day that kept people like me from moving to the next, you know, stage with Sabbath. I don't know who the hell was in the damn band. You know, these stupid covers and stuff, they didn't help. But let's go back and sort of get reacquainted. 1986, Tony Iommi, supposed to be a solo album, you know, but of course it's Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi, which I can tell you did not help people like me want to buy it. Had this been just called Tony Iommi, I probably wouldn't have bought it, but it wouldn't have made me turn around and like do an about face on this thing the way I did back then. Anyhow, that, of course, the featuring Tony Iommi, Black Sabbath moniker was forced by the record company. They were threatened and basically to not release it unless Tony put the Sabbath name on it. So, of course, you didn't know that back then, but that's what happened. Total turnoff, though, back in the day. Chaos basically ruled the situation for Sabbath right after, I mean, really pretty much as soon as Gillen left. Then Geezer left. Now, he's trying to carry things on. Geezer's still around. Geezer's starting his own stuff. Ward's in and out still. We got The Shining, actually popped up in 1984. That's part of, holding the wrong one. Part of Eternal Idol, featuring the song The Shining. It's a great song. First song on here. The version of that with, I think it's Dave Donato singing it, 1984. So, Tony trying to maintain things. Reunion with Ozzy? Yeah, maybe. That's getting thrown around in 85. The Live Aid reunion was sort of maybe a possible warm-up to that. Of course, didn't happen. So, who is in the band by the time we get to The Eternal Idol, 1986? Well, obviously, Tony's playing guitar. Jeff Nichols, his buddy, you know, been around in the scene since late 70s at this point. Keyboards, also trying to help write. Eric Singer on drums, go on to be with Kiss. Dave Spitz on bass. Ray Gillen is your singer. All right, that's the lineup going in that's set to record The Eternal Idol. Now, Gillen, of course, replaced Glenn Hughes singing on that 7-star tour. So, at the recording outset anyway, that's your lineup. Now, pretty much 3 of these guys left. And whether they came back or not, I'll get to that in a second. But first guy that really, if he was even there at all, is Dave Spitz on bass. At some point, Bob Daisley comes in, helps with songwriting, and by all accounts, records all the bass parts. Then he has to leave again. He's already hooked up with Gary Moore. Eric Singer, he's your drummer going in. He records Eternal Idol with Iommi, Nichols, and Daisley. And also Ray Gillen's still there at that point. Before the album's complete, totally complete, but after he recorded it sounds like most or all the drum parts. Eric Singer leaves, and I think he ends up with Gary Moore also, if I'm not mistaken. Bevan comes in to tweak some of the drums. Sounds like he only does some minor percussion though. This is all the Eternal Idol recording sessions. Finally, Ray Gillen, who records vocals for the album, the entire album sounds like, or most of it, ends up leaving supposedly to join the early version of Blue Murder with John Sykes. That doesn't take shape until a few years later. Gillen, of course, ends up in Badlands with Jake E. Lee. Got all that? So basically what you have is a band that went into the studio to record it. It has to get finished on bass by Bob Daisley. Some percussion by Bevan on drums. And the biggie, of course, Ray Gillen leaves and Tony Martin brought in as the new singer of Sabbath. So, to go out on tour for the album, Tony Martin is your singer, Ray Gillen gone for good. So, musically, who's on the album? Iommi, Nichols, Daisley, and Singer. Vocally, disc 1, the official, or the regular release, Tony Martin singing. All right? On the bonus edition, on the deluxe edition rather, Tony Martin version, remastered, disc 1. You also get 2 bonus tracks that were the Shining 12-inch single. There were 2 B-sides on that, and they're both here, which is kind of cool. Black Moon is a good one. That one I had heard before somehow, some way. Black Moon sounds great. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this release. As advertised, you know, the whole thing is disc 2. You get to hear Ray Gillen's version of the album, all right? That's what the main lure is supposed to be, you know? At least that's, like I said, how it's presented and advertised. The real treat here for me, it's not Gillen at all. The versions on disc 2 are raw, heavier, beefier, way more adventurous, basically demos of the album, all right? Really taking risks with the music. I'll get into some details in a minute. Where the regular album sounded really good, like it's produced well. It had one kind of uniform style and sound throughout the whole damn album, you know? And here on disc 2, anything goes. And let me tell you, it sounds like Nichols, Iommi, whoever else, Daisley, we're really trying to make this album as good as it can be, trying all kinds of different things, textures of music, layers of guitars. It is so much better than the regular album, which, like I was saying, you know, the whole lure here as advertised is hear original singer Ray Gillen's version. Only a minor difference to me, you know. There's different guitar tones in places on these demos. I mean, I'm calling them demos. That's what they sound like. They're rough, they're raw, they're heavier and beefier, like I said. Way more cooler to me. But it's not just that. Alternate guitar sounds, alternate keyboard sounds and tones. The keyboard is higher in places too, which normally that's not a plus for me. It is here. When Nichols is doing some cool, macabre sounding things on that organ and keyboard, yeah, I love that. So more of that. There's occasional acoustic guitar layering underneath it. Just a more interesting listen. I'm like shocked by this, you know. All along I just thought I was going to hear the same versions of these songs. Ray Gillen swapped out for Tony Martin. It's not even close to the case, all right? This feels to me like Iommi and Nichols primarily. I'm just going to guess at how much Daisley had to do with this, but I'm sure he did have something to do with it, obviously. Sounds like I already mentioned, really spent quality time trying to make this album everything it could be. Only to have a good amount of it removed, sort of homogenized, you know. Only the basic tracks, I think, is what remains on the regular album, unfortunately. But, I guess fortunately, we got this version now. And I didn't really think a whole lot of the regular album in the first place. Probably really only liked 2 or 3 songs. Now I would say that's probably more like 4 or 5 songs that I think are really good, you know. So from a few to more than half, definite plus. The overall sound quality here just being more raw and heavier. That's a good amount of why Like I said, they're kind of like demos, but they're just better, and more interesting, like I was mentioning. Think about like the Rock Candy version of Armored Saints March of the Saint. Get those 3 bonus track demos that I think are better than the regular versions on the album. That's almost like less is more. Although in this case, like I was saying, you got like more going on, and what's going on that's more is cool, because it's easy to put more stuff on there and junk it up. Not the case here. They did cool things with the guitars and the keys. And, when it comes to Ray Gillen's voice on here, I know Ray has this almost cult-like following, the best pure singer Sabbath has ever had, some people say. And you know what? I'm not going to really argue with that, to be honest with you. To me, his voice isn't that much noticeably better than Martin's. And, I think Tony Martin's a really good singer. So I also think Ray Gillen's a really good singer. Who's better? I guess technically Ray Gillen is better. But I also feel like Ray is a little more just, I don't know. Tony Martin's at least got a vocal tone that I think rubs me more the right way than Ray's. I don't think there's a big difference with the two singers in general and on here. Maybe he is a little better technically range, but I thought, Martin supposedly just copied Ray on this album. I think he did a really damn good job of just copying Ray Gillen, and that's pretty impressive if you're copying someone who's great. So, favorites on here, it'll still be The Shining, which it already was going in. Keyboards are a little heavier. It's a little bit different structure, but it's pretty damn close. The vocals probably a little better here. This is one where I'd say, yeah, Gillen probably does it a little better than Martin. It's an alternate version altogether, just like I was saying. So that's great. Let's go down to the last track, Ancient Warrior, which would be the second on the regular album. I always like, this is another one I already liked before. The guitar count, you hear that count in. The guitar has this like synth fuzz tone on it in spots. Almost kind of reminds you of like Priest Turbo. Not that crazy, but approaching it. It's just interesting, It's just in spots, and there's a real sort of sinister sounding organ behind Tony's solo on this one. It's a great song to begin with anyway. It's even better here. Another good one. Hard Life to Love was another one that I liked before. Now I really like it. It's heavier. This is a pretty heavy song to begin with. Real in your face. The notes are sustained longer by Ray on this one, and that kind of helps it be a little better in some way. Glory Ride's another one that's good. I would say improved just because it's heavier. And the raw, I just like hearing raw guitars. Raw, sort of unedited sound. That's kind of what's going on here, There are some, I would say, negligible or tangible differences with Born to Lose, Nightmare, Lost Forever. They're not great songs. Alternate heavier versions don't really make them any better. That sort of style can't help everything. There's no alternate version of Scarlet Pimpernel. So just 8 alternates out of the 9 regular songs. What's not as good, there is one song I think is probably worse. The title track. Or is this like one of those Mob Rules deals? Eternal Idol. See, they take the out of there. I'm on these now. Eternal Idol, kind of an epic-like tune. Ray doesn't sell that one to me. Tony Martin sounds better trying to do this sort of slow, epic kind of sounding song. So that one I would say is not as good. And it comes in 4th track on the bonus session. Last track, regular album. Bonus tracks, like I said, pretty damn cool. Black Moon sounds great. Some Kind of Woman sounds fine. I don't love that song anyway. But Final Rap, I really enjoy that the Ray Gillen session on disc 2 is actually heavier, more raw, basically demos with various original and then eventually edited out sounds and ideas and textures and layers, because they sound great, man. They really sound a lot cooler of an album than the original Eternal Idol. I thought was just made for, typical commercial success driven style of production. And there's another thing about this album. I think they ended up being 3 producers during the making of this thing. Recorded in multiple different locations. It was a real mess, man. And considering all that, with all the different personnel involved, they came out with a pretty damn good album, you know. Now this one I think is just okay, but I'm totally kind of digging the new raw version of it, which they're demos. Let's just call it what it is, all right? Definite improvement if you're someone that likes your Sabbath heavy. But also, like I said, a lot of ideas that I think got tossed out at the end of the day, they're still here, and the album's better for it. Guys, that's pretty much it, you know. And then bottom line is, glad we have 2 different mixes. The more Sabbath, the merrier, you know. It's not really a comparison thing at the end of the day. We got the original, and we got this newer version, which is the original, older demo version. It's pretty cool. Really powerful sounds coming out of this one. Unlike the regular album, which wasn't bad. This was a good metal album. Just way cooler. Way cooler. Guys, that's going to do it for this Sabbath episode. Hope you could keep up. A lot going on, as always, in the Sabbath world. Especially when you buy everything you can get your hands on. Guys, hope you're drinking a Black Sabbath and staying cool. It's hot as shit out here today. Catch us next time. And check out the playlist for the real Reborn Again. Later.